G'day, it's Mark and welcome back to the channel. And in this episode, we look at part 4 of the P5 Ford LTD restoration. Hope you're subscribed and following along, but if not, please give the thumbs up to the episode and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on a future episode. So in terms of what's happened, I guess, since the last episode, the car got shipped. You saw that in the previous episodes, got that picked up and sent to Brian. Brian got stuck into it, took the vinyl roof off and started stripping off, the bumpers and the tail lights and things like that. Stripped that back. Then we sent it to the blaster to blast the car. And there's certainly a fair bit of rust in the car, which all has to be cut out and replaced. Well, Brian's doing that and making sure, it's done properly, which is why I'm getting Brian to do it, because he does a very good job. And then Brian then got the car back, to put into an Epitech finish, just to make sure that the car, stays, I suppose, as stable as possible. And then he's tackling the body repair panel. So he's been able to, it's in a primer now, and he's tackling those various elements, working methodically through it. And then, alongside of that, he's letting me know what parts are needed, and, I'm on the hunt for those in the meantime, so he can just keep working through. So, yeah, you can see some photos here of when the car was blasted, and then its current situation now, where it's been put in that Epitech, and primed, and then Brian's working through it. And so now we're going to go and look through the progress that Brian's made so far, and I guess the next steps as to what's to come. So as with any restoration, it's always about collecting the parts as well, not just about the actual repair work. Brian's doing a great job on that, so we'll give you an update in this episode. But one of my subscribers, Daryl, thank you very much. He gave me this front wheel arch moulding for the car. I also got, these are for the B pillar, the chrome trim on the B pillar. He gave me 2 of those as well. And he also gave me these sill panels for the front and the rear. And as it turned out, I actually needed one for the front in particular, but it'd be nice just to, pick the best ones and make sure we use those on the car. That's the rear one as well there. So really happy with that. There's also these other parts here. I've got to work out what I think there's something to do with the windows. Daryl probably can put a comment in there, but I think that's to do with the windows. Or it could be part of a moulding. I'm not sure. I've got to work out what that actually is for. He's given me 2 of those. So thank you very much, Daryl. I really appreciate it. That other moulding, or this moulding here, sorry for the racket, but I got off David's. My friend David's got a P5 LTD parts car. It's very rough, but I was able to get this rear wheel arch moulding off the right rear, which I need. It's got a bit of a split in it, but I think we'll be able to fix that and make that look kind of presentable. So yeah, really good. But thanks very much, Daryl. I really appreciate it. And David too, of course, for that right rear wheel arch trim piece. I also got on to Luke at Rusty Ford's. I'm going to go and see him during the week and pick up some parts. But what I got from him was where the fuel filler is on the left rear quarter was quite corroded. There's like a bucket where the fuel filler tube is attached to, and that bucket was pretty rusty. And I looked on David's car as well, and yeah, it was really rusty there for that car. So luckily Luke had I think it was a ZG Fairlane with a really nice fuel filler bucket, if you like. That's the term I'm using for it. And so I bought that. It was $100. I think that was a pretty fair price. So he's cutting that piece out for me. Brian will then weld that into the car. And also there's a front left passenger little eyebrow for the front mudguard. Mine had a hole drilled in it. Look, it probably would have been savable because there is like a black inset line that you could probably fill and then sort of paint over that, but I'd rather have one in better condition. So he also sold me that. And then there's a fuel filler door as well. Mine wasn't too bad, but it had a rust bubble in it. But the one that Luke's got is in really good nick. So yeah, really pleased to get those parts. And we'll also do a bit of a tour and have a look around Luke's premises and just some of his other parts he's got as well. Also, if you live in Australia, you certainly would know all about Rare Spares. They're not sponsoring me. They can sponsor the channel if they like, if you're watching this. But I ordered some parts from Rare Spares. I got 4 of the boot corners. You lift up the boot or the trunk, as you say in the US. That was all rusted, that area, the boot channels and the corners. So the Falcon XA to XC, it's the same part basically for those cars, and ZF, ZG, and then the P5, I guess the P6 LTD as well. For the sedans, obviously coupe's different variation, the part there. That would be more for a Landau or a coupe or the hardtops. So I've got 4 ends, which Brian will then use. And then I've also bought, I think, 2 or 3 of the channels, again, to repair that area. I also bought a front valance. Mine was very badly damaged and corroded, so I've bought that from Rare Spares. And I've also got a rear valance, which has the allowance for the dual exhaust. There's 2 variations. There's an XA version, which has the rectangular dual exhaust. I don't want that on an LTD. And then there's sort of the round half circle, if you like, for the more standard dual exhaust. Now, LTDs came with single exhaust. I am going to fit dual exhaust to the car. I prefer just to be able to hear the V8. It won't be too obnoxious, but it'll, just like to hear the V8. You're paying the fuel, you may as well hear the engine. So I bought those as well. I think they were the only parts I got from Rare Spares. I am going to look at some steel panels as well, and maybe some lower door pieces, but we just have to work out, does it make sense to buy those depending on the cost versus Brian just making the parts up himself? So yeah, we'll look into that, and we're going to speak to Brian shortly to just talk through what he's done so far, but also what's needed to move the project along further. In terms of other elements of the car, I've been on the hunt for different parts. Some of these parts are very hard to find. They do pop up, they're around, but they're not, you can't just sort of go and pick them off the shelf. It's not like you're restoring a Pontiac GTO from 1968. I probably will be in that position when I've got a convertible one of those, or to do that down the track. But you can't just go and buy the parts readily, apart from some of these panels that seem to match the Falcon, like I've just mentioned before. But I've been able to secure a few parts. The LTD badge for the trunk, LTD by Ford for the boot. There's also LTD badges on the front doors that were missing. I've got those. I also got replacement door pull straps, because I had the ones I had, some of them were quite badly worn, so I was able to buy a couple of those. I also bought a packet of the little metal caps, the fillers that cover the screws where the door pulls are attached to the door, so I was able to buy about 8 or 10 of those in a pack, so that's really good. I have to keep a couple of spares as well. That's for the interior. The interior is something that I've got to do down the track, but I do want to get onto that. There's some seat repair that needs to be done, also new carpet and things like that. But the main focus at the moment is obviously the rust repair and the paint work, and then also just mechanically want to get probably Ray to do some work on the car as well. It is a running and driving car, but it certainly will need some more TLC, because it hasn't been run. It's been stored for a long time. Also got an LTD bonnet emblem, so I was really happy to get that. The car was missing a switch for the washer wiper. I think that was in an earlier episode. I was wondering what that switch was. I think someone said, yeah, washer wiper, and I kind of worked it out myself. So I was able to get one of those. It's been tested and that all works, so that's really good. Yeah, I think they're the main things that I've got. I also got hubcaps. I've got early series hubcaps from America because they're the same. I think I mentioned this before, as like LTD Brougham type caps. The car came with the Thunderbird caps, which are more that flat disc type with the color keyed disc in the center. But I also really like the early caps, so I'm going to have 2 sets of caps for the car. The correct ones are the ones that are on it, but I probably will put the other ones on because I really like those extruded caps as well. And I also bought for the front and rear. And again, the car, I don't think necessarily had this fitted, because some did and some didn't. If you look at photos of P5 LTDs and Landaus, you'll see some cars have front and rear bumper overriders and some don't. I like the idea of having the bumper overriders just to protect the grille, the headlight covers, but also those very rare and expensive tail lights. So I've also been able to secure some bumper riders front and rear. So, which you can see here. So I'm glad that I've been able to get those parts. There'll be other parts I'll need to get as well. I am still missing, for anyone watching, the center section of the tail light. I have got it, but it's cracked. It's got a bit of damage. So if somebody does have a center section of a P5 LTD tail light, I'm definitely interested in that. They're kind of the main things that I think I'm chasing at the moment. In the previous episode, I think I did put a want list in for some other bits and pieces. The rear wheel arch molding. Look, if I could get a really nice condition right rear wheel arch molding, or even a full set, I'd be interested in that, because the one I've got is a little bit damaged, but it's not. It's probably about an 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, something like that. But you know, ideally you want to get a 9 or a 10 out of 10 if you can secure that. But all the badges and things like that I've been able to secure. So yeah, look, it's just these processes are pretty. They take a lot of time, a lot of hunting around. I guess one of the advantages being an Australian car is at least I can source the cars here rather than with an American car. I've got to sort of send overseas. You've got to wait ages to get the parts. And as you've seen in my series, or if you haven't watched it, watch it, it's still ongoing, my 1957 Ford F250 restoration. More mechanical at this stage, but I have been buying some bits and pieces for it from a cosmetic point of view, but I haven't done any cosmetic restoration. But, there's been some frustration around, you order parts, it says it's suitable for a 57 Ford F250, you get it and it doesn't fit. There's been a bit of that going on, but check that out, that series out, it's on the playlist as well. So anyway, next we're going to go and look at what Brian's done so far, and just talk through the progress of what he's been able to achieve and what's next. In terms of other elements of the car, I was also able to get some new tyres, white wall tyres. I got those, again, another sponsorship opportunity. Huntsman tyres. I got some 215 70 series R15s, white wall tyres. The 70 series are a bit harder to get. Tend to be more 75 series, just too tall for that car. But so I bought those and I'll put those on the car. Potentially when I go and see Brian, I'll go and do that because the tyres on the back of the car are too wide. The wheels and tyres are very wide at the back and they were rubbing on the guards, which, it's the last thing you need. Plus they're just too big for the car. So I'm looking forward to having those fitted as well. So there's lots of aspects to any restoration. There's just so much. And, I've said this before, the best and cheapest way is to get a lovely, immaculate example and just buy that. Obviously, you've got to pay a lot more money to get something like that. But I also do like sort of, bringing cars back to life and, it's a bit like going to the lost dog's home. You sort of don't want it to disappear, so you kind of save it. And I think if you like old cars, you can probably identify with that. I'm sure, a lot of subscribers watching can think, oh, you want to save the car's life, basically, even though it's not living. But, I wanted to bring it back to its former glory, and then that's another car on the road as opposed to just buying one that's already restored, and then maybe, that other car gets broken up for parts or gets wrecked or whatever. So, given the small numbers of these cars that are still available, I just think that's really important to do that. And I like saving their lives, even though that's a dearer route to take in many cases. If you can afford to buy an immaculate one, sure, that's a better option. So here we are at Rusty Ford Wreckers. I'm here to see Luke to grab some parts. The old town car there, badges in the wrong location. Should be on the top of the guard over there. Anyway. Don't see many of these cars these days. So just saw Luke and picked up some of my parts. So I like his draw card here. He's got a XB hardtop, very rusty, but a good draw card. And just picked up my parts. I've got this piece which Brian needs. Got that for the eyebrow. While I was there, I also got this for my EB Gear V8. Check out those episodes on that car. It's another project of mine. And then I've got 3 of these AUV8 badges because I've got a Fairmont V8 wagon, but I've actually got 2. I've got a burgundy one, which I just want to do some work on, and it's missing its badges. So I picked those up. So yeah, really good. So if you need any parts, if you're old Ford, check out Rusty Ford Wreckers, speak to Luke. Here's his details here, get in touch with him. It's pretty good. I'm happy to pick those parts up, plus stuff for my AU and the EB gear. So anyway, off to see Brian. There's some of the goodies for Brian to put back on the car. Done some repairs on the taillights and cleaned them up. Replaced a piece of chrome because I took that off a spare end piece I had. And then, like I mentioned before, from Rusty Ford, we've got the ZG, the fuel filler, the bucket. That still needs quite a bit of work on it. But let's go over to Brian and see what he has to say.
Fun and games, we're doing rust repairs.
Yep.
So basically breaking the car down to panel at a time because there's quite a lot of work.
Yep.
So this tail light panel here,
right.
It all broken away from the inner frame, so they had to reconstruct the inner and outer frame here.
Right.
Now I plug welded a strip through, I formed the shape to follow the original.
Oh, yeah.
I just plug welded the strip through to give it all its strength back.
Yes.
But all these ends here were completely rusted away where the tail light goes.
Right.
So I had to hand make those. It's a rough idea what I had to hand make because I actually made two by mistake, so this is just roughed out.
That'll be for my next one I do.
So because they did have a little panel just like that welded in there.
Right.
And that's basically what I hand shaped.
Oh, right. Wow.
To go in there.
That's good, isn't it?
That obviously isn't finished because I realised I actually folded it the wrong way. I was doing this side.
Right.
And I made another right
It's
hand.
got to be the reverse.
Time,
right.
So that's just a panel that's totally not seen. I'm just trying to emulate what was there and obviously make it strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And make it rust free.
Yeah.
Same with the quarter panels here. So these are all steel now.
Yep.
And it looks a bit scruffy because there's been no. This is just. I butt welded the join right through the middle here, and I always put a little smear of fiberglass because fiberglass is not porous.
Right.
So if you've missed a pinhole in here, which I try not very hard not to.
Yeah.
And then I'll sand that, then there's be a very light smear of filler along there.
Yeah.
Handmade the wheel arch right through to here, the inner and outer.
Yes.
That was all gone. The inner of that quarter panel is also gone, and the inner of that.
Oh yeah,
back
so you've replaced
well,
that.
so.
Yeah. Wow.
And
the
then
other
also,
side gives you an idea of what it was like before. Is that?
Yeah, you can show the other side.
I mean, look
this
at that.
side here is slightly better.
Is it?
Believe it or not, than the side
Wow.
I just
Okay.
did. So, yeah,
it looks terrible, doesn't it?
A bit like Swiss cheese.
Yeah, it does look like Swiss cheese.
You can see even the back of the quarter panel was rusty.
Yes.
And this one was the same, so I remade the corner of that.
Yep.
This is only roughed out at the moment. This is nowhere near finished.
Yeah.
This
a
section
big improvement.
through here
Yeah.
had a scrape. It got hit there and went
Right.
right through the middle of there and
Right.
had half an inch of filler in there.
Really?
Half an inch low it was.
God.
So
I knew the car had a lot of filler in it, but you know.
I've lifted that right up now. That's virtually flat. Put a ruler across it now. It's actually flat.
Right.
Obviously it's a bit ripply.
Yes.
I've just roughed it out.
Yeah.
But I left things like dents like that in here,
Yeah.
which you could access easily, and they just left them in there and put filler in it.
Right.
They belted this out with a mallee root. Like it's
Yeah.
the way they've knocked out the
So rather than
filler,
tapping out the dent,
super-
they just filled over it.
super rough. Like
Right.
Whoever worked on it was super.
1980s body shop repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So concentrating on the main structures, so the rear quarters, the rear tail light panel.
Yep.
I'm going to put a section in for the fuel tank.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'm
look
going
at
to
that.
finish the quarter panels both sides.
Yeah.
And then we'll look at doing some of the rest of the car.
So that's why I got that ZG piece there. You can see how bad
So I've got to section that in there.
We'll put that in.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you'll put it in, I won't. But.
Yeah. So anyway, so at the moment it's a very rough stage.
You know, but it's looking good. Like in terms of I can see what you've done. You know, it's
but
a lot,
also
a lot of work.
It's all steel. There's no. I mean, obviously the skin and filler over
Yeah,
it. But
yeah.
all steel.
Yeah.
Sealed all the joins that have been welded properly. So
Yeah.
even though it's a little bit scruffy, it'll
It'll come up well.
It'll stay. It won't rust again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we finish, we'll probably fish oil or wax, cavity wax in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it won't get any water.
Same with the doors.
Liquid into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That. I think one of the subscribers mentioned that as well, saying because these cars were so susceptible to rust,
Yeah. That's right.
as demonstrated by this.
Anyway, so like I said, this is early stages.
Yeah.
I've just been,
So you're focusing on the back of the car first.
yeah. So
Yeah.
handmade those. Same here's one here. I'm getting ready for the other side. So this is just very rough at the moment. I've only just started. So
Right.
this is going to be a repair section for the bottom of there.
Yes. Oh, right. Okay.
There's no point starting with a Falcon one because they're shorter.
Yeah.
So I just
make your
hand
own.
make it from scratch.
Yeah. Oh, that'll look
Shape
much
that
better.
and get that welded in.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Wow. I mean, some people are really scared by this sort of stuff. And I guess back in the day, I would run a mile from a car like that. And you probably could say I should have run a mile, but
Well, back in the day, they probably would have sourced good quarter panels.
yeah.
They'd probably,
And they've probably gone
if there
from the
was such a
factory.
thing, they could have
Yeah.
bought a quarter panel. If that was damaged
Yeah.
in its early days,
Yeah.
they would have put a new skin on it.
Yeah, you get it from Ford. Yeah, that's
You
true.
can't do that anymore.
I guess I've seen a lot of work you've done, Brian, to know what you're capable of. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So, anyway, it's you've got to break it down and just chip away at it. Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
going to lose your way. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying not to get lost.
yeah. Well, I've so, and in the boot you've got the you're going to do the quarters in the what are they? The corners for the boot channel.
Yeah, all
And
the
that-
channel is half of that needs to be replaced.
Yeah, I was waiting on rare spares, and apparently the parts just arrived when I was about to arrive here.
Yeah.
You know, I'd ordered them a couple of weeks ago, so
The panel here. This is just a
generic Falcon XA
well.
to
It is
XC. I
made. It
think.
is made to replace the rust repair section.
Yeah, and also it's quite a complicated shape, isn't it?
Yeah, but you still got to massage them in. They don't just fall in place.
Yeah, yeah.
Bit of work to make them fit, and sometimes you don't need as much of the panel.
Right.
In this case, we probably do.
Yeah.
That's just an example. We're lucky they reproduce those.
Absolutely.
There's a bit of work on that.
Yeah.
And that's the weird channel there that'll go in there.
Right. Yeah, to try and make that would be very difficult,
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
it?
why.
A lot of
that's
time.
That's going to save us some time.
Yeah. So we've got 4 of those.
Yeah, 4 of those, but I
to
won't be
massage
using
it.
all because the top ones aren't shaped the same, so
No.
I've got to mix and match the top bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll get the channel, and then
Yeah.
that'll be the next step.
Like I said,
So, yeah, Brian's done a great job. Still a huge amount of work to go. Check out this photo here where he's welded these little pins in to pull the panel out on that left-hand rear quarter over the wheel arch. You know, there's a lot of work that goes into this with, cutting out and fabricating and welding and so on. So, yeah, it's doing a great job. Well done, Brian. Good one. Well, I hope you enjoyed that update on the P5 Ford LTD. If you haven't already, make sure you watch the earlier episodes, parts 1, 2, and 3, and follow along and give the episode a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button as well so you don't miss out on a future episode. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.